What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me on my channel, Think Wealth 24. I'm so pleased that you decided to once again join me. And if this is your first time, thank you for joining me. And so let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about takeover mentality. And if you've ever, had history class or even watched, historical movies, you know that much of the land that we live in, whether you're in America or any other continent, you know that much of the land was um, um, taken over or uh, begin to be cultivated by a king and his kingdom. So even if there were people before, if a king came with his military force to take over, then that particular land would come up under that king and his kingdom. And oftentimes this was done by takeover through military force. But that's what I want to talk to you about today, having a takeover mentality. And we're not really seeing that too often today, particularly here in America. We're not seeing kings and their kingdoms taking over. But we can have a takeover mentality in our own particular lives. So, what is a takeover mentality and what does that look like for us in an everyday setting? Well, a takeover mentality is someone who has a fierce, determined focus. Like they are determined to get something done. They're determined to make something happen. And we talk about being intentional, purposeful, and have a strategy. And all of those things um, are matter when you want to get results. But you have definitely have to have this type of focus, and that is the key thing. You have to have a focus. You have to have a strategy. You have to have something that in mind that you're reaching towards, and a goal, an objective. And so typically, when you're doing goal setting, you'll have a long-term goal or overall objective, and then you'll have, smaller goals or tasks that you accomplish to reach that overall goal. And so, but that is part of having a takeover mentality, and this mentality is what will keep you pushing when challenges comes or when things get hard. This type of takeover mentality is the type of mentality or attitude that you have to keep going forward so that you can accomplish, because it's one thing to take the time to do the goals and to write them down. That's good, that's great, that's necessary. But if you don't have that type of fortitude to push through and actually do the work, then all you've done is write down goals, but you're still not getting the results. And so this is the type of attitude that I want to talk to you about, so that you have to kind of begin to form in your own being. So you have to have focus. And I was watching this show, the series Arena, and they were doing a sort of documentary on Serena Williams and her, rise to tennis domination. And during her type of ascension, she was talking about one of the first hurdles that she had to give over, and that was being able to beat her sister Venus, who was also a dominant force in tennis as well. So one of the things that she talked about was, number one, that she had to begin to understand what her true opposition was. And what she realized that was that her opposition was not really Venus herself, but it was what Serena thought about herself and her ability to win against Venus. She had to get past the idea of thinking that, it's right that Venus would win because she's the older one. And so once she did that, she had to, when she got out on the court, she had to have a focus. She had to have a strategy, and it consisted of, number one, not looking at Venus or making, purposeful moves about not getting herself in a situation where she had to look at her. So she would go to opposite ends of the court. And the other thing was is that she stopped thinking about winning the match altogether, but just started thinking, I just have to win this one point. and then she would win that one. Just I have to just win this 1 point. And so she realized what her true opposition was, and then she began to think in smaller terms, not the whole thing at a time. And so that's what we can do. We can have an overall objective, but sometimes that objective can seem so big or so, impossible, that it's helpful to be able to break it down into smaller sizes, smaller bites, so that it can seem more possible. And that was what she began to do. And eventually she was able to win against her sister and ascend to her own tennis domination. So, how can you begin to apply this to your own life? So, number one, don't allow any distractions. And this is what we see an example that Serena talked about, was that Venus herself was a distraction for her, a distraction from winning, a distraction from getting that 1 point, that 1 point. And so we have to get rid of our distractions. Don't let anything intimidate you, and know what you need to do to deal with your own internal opposition. You have to be able to identify what the real opposition is, and 9 out of 10 times it's not really the person, it's not really the situation, it's what you think about the person, or what you think about the situation. Again, it's all mindset. The second one is be in the moment, be in this moment. Don't worry about the next thing. Don't worry about the next day. Don't worry about the next 6 months or the next year, but be in this moment. You can have a plan for the next 3 months or the next 6 months or the next year, but you can only be in this moment. And so focus on this moment, this task, this assignment. And then when you get done with that, you focus on the next, this moment, this task, this assignment. So, to help you keep yourself going, it's important that you find what motivates you. And all of us have different motivations. For some people, it's opposition or challenge. Some people are motivated by, the challenge of it all. Or if someone says that you can't, they are motivated by that, and that just kind of reignites their fire. And some people just need a good laugh. Some people just are motivated by the idea that they could be, iconic or legendary, that they could be impactful. Some people are motivated by the idea that they could, make social change. Some people are motivated by, reward, promotion, getting something. And so you have to find what motivates you. And I noticed that, just I listen to football every now and then, and I noticed that different, football players are noticed by are motivated by different things. And so oftentimes you will see different players where, they're not playing as good as they used to play, and oftentimes, they attribute it to age or something like that. But I wonder sometimes if these particular players, elite players, just don't really know what motivates them. And it's not that their skill or their abilities have diminished, but they don't know what motivates them. And in the beginning of the career, maybe they had that challenge in mind. Maybe they were, had that chip on their shoulder. Maybe somebody said that they couldn't do it, and so that they were challenged by that. But now they have, risen to, they've accomplished some things, and maybe people are saying good things about them. Maybe their home life is going really well, and so they've lost some of that focus, they've lost some of that drive. And so it's important that if we want to continue to be successful, that we have to know what our motivation is. And I loved the series The Last Dance, documenting the Bulls and Michael Jordan. And one of the things that they said about him was that he would find anything to motivate him. It seems like he was kind of motivated by a challenge, or fueled kind of like by anger. So somebody said that he couldn't or he wouldn't, that kind of motivated him and reignited his fire. So even if you have to make up something, you have to find what motivates you. So the other thing I want to talk about is be fearless. Fear nothing and no one. Be bold as a lion. I love that about lions. They're not intimidated by anything. They're fueled by by hunger, and so they will get their food by any means necessary. They recognize that teamwork makes the dream work, and they have their little strategy. And they'll go after an elephant, a rhinoceros, a deer. It doesn't matter. They're going after it because they know, they recognize that they have to do what they have to do to get that food. And so that's how we have to be. So you want to make sure that you own the space that you're in. You have to know that you belong there, and even if you don't really feel like you belong there, work on looking like you belong there. So when you walk in a space, walk with your head up. When you're walking somewhere, walk like you know what you're going, know where you're going. Kind of walk briskly and sharply. If you have to, practice that look in the mirror and know how your face feels when you look confident, so that you can make sure that you look the part, because people see you before they know you, and you don't want to let how you look close the door on you. So you always want to make sure that you look confident, so that when you get in the room, you can show them that you are. So you want to look like you belong, so that when you get in the room, you can show them that you belong. And the final thing I want to talk about is be prepared and stay prepared, because opportunities come. You're able to take advantage of opportunities when you are prepared for those opportunities. Um, you want to make sure that you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about. And so even if you're not yet exactly where you want to be, you want to make sure that you stay informed, that you stay educated, so that when you do get there, you'll know what to do, you'll know what's going on. So if you plan on getting results, this is the mentality you have to have. You have to have a takeover mentality. You have to have a takeover attitude. And that is just being fierce, being determined, being focused, and knowing that you can do it, knowing that you belong in that space. And so you have to see yourself as a ruler. You have to see yourself as someone that does and has what is necessary to get the results. You have to know, you have to be someone who has an objective, and with a military like force and focus, get the results that you want, and deal with your emotions. Stop blaming people. Stop blaming, other things. Well, society, and I'm a woman, or I'm this color, I'm from this, I don't have this. I Stop using that as an excuse. There are so many people who look like you, who come from worse situations than you, and that they have found the way. And it's not saying that the challenges aren't there, it's just saying that you can do it. You can get past and beyond whatever challenges come your way, and use those naysayers, use those people that say you can't. Use that as your motivation and not as a hindrance. So stop being a victim, stop blaming everyone else, take ownership, take back your power. You are a powerful being, and do what needs to be done, no matter what you feel like, whether you feel like it or whether you don't. If you know it needs to be done, do it. Don't be emotionally led. Do what needs to be done, whether it's convenient or not. If you know it needs to be done, get it done. Do it because you are someone who gets the results, point blank, period. I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you realize, hey, I really believe what you're saying is so true. I just need a little help applying it to my personal life. If that's you, get a life coach. If you don't have one, if you don't know one, Look me up, get in contact with me, www.kimberlyamatthews.com. Don't waste another day. Get the mentality that you need, get the mindset that you need, because you have what it takes. You just don't think you do. So let me help you. Let a life coach help you. Again, www.kimberlyamatthews.com. Let's get together and let's get you where you want to be. Thank you again so much for joining me, and I will see you all next time. Bye.